good. So, my name's Coach Mark. We're glad you're here this evening. Final tips seminar. This is kind of like the review for your final exam. And I have an outline that I'll pass out. My co-host is David.
I'm David Hanawalt, physical therapist, marathoner. I used to manage this clinic. I've moved, but here for the seminar. So be happy about that.
And how many years as physical therapist?
9.
9. So, and fellow marathoner. So if you have any aches and pains and so forth, we could, David could address those. I have a sign-in sheet. If I have your email, there's no need for your email. Who's excited?
Me.
Wait. Did your hand go up? That was quick. Who's excited? Yeah, okay, good. Who's running? Are you running? That's all right. You know what? You're smart. Okay. So anyways, we have less than 3 weeks to go for the Chicago Marathon. Anyway, who's running Chicago Marathon? Raise their hand. Who's running for their first time? Raise your hand even higher. Okay, I know it's your second, right? And you're first. You're smart. Are you running it too?
Not the Chicago.
Oh, at Grand Rapids a week later. Okay. So anyways, tonight what we want to do is take the next 55 minutes and feed you with information, details, motivation, and inspiration. How does that sound? And my wife says, don't tell so many stories, because when you tell stories, they don't get to ask questions. So what we're going to do is we're going to start here, and you introduce yourself, your name, your neighborhood, if it's your first or 10th Chicago Marathon or whatever, and then your question or concern. But all this has to be quick. So, Jared.
Jared Dittman.
And your charity.
Jared Dittman lives in the neighborhood here running with the Red Cross. We'll be a second Chicago Marathon. Biggest concern is trying to figure out, should I go up a pace group or down a pace group?
Biggest concern.
Up a pace group or down a pace group?
Oh, with or without a
Yeah,
pace
do I
group?
start a little faster and then know I'm going to fall off that pace group? Or start slower and know that hopefully break away?
Great.
My name's Andrea. I'm running with Cause. I live in Avondale. It's my first marathon, and my biggest concern, I'm just wondering, my training plan went up to 20 miles. Is that enough?
Dave.
My name's David. This is my first marathon ever running for the Red Cross. Biggest concern is I've been kind of inconsistent with my training, so that's starting to now feel more like I probably should have. Too late now, but what can I do now?
Ooh, that's a real good question. Yeah, really, seriously.
My name is Jason Weeder. I am running Chicago Marathon for the first time. I'm from Aurora, Illinois. I am running with Erica's Lighthouse, and I'm most interested in learning about proper hydration, or particularly when, how often should you be ingesting goo or blocks or something to prevent bonking throughout the entire race.
My name is Madison Freeze. I live in Lakeview, running with Anti-Cruelty Society. My biggest concern is probably just hitting the wall that I hear about and just being able to overcome that, prepare.
There is no wall. So that's number one. That's a fallacy. So number
Okay.
2. Who have you been training with, Madison? On your own? Him?
Just this guy's my
No,
trainer.
Never say just. Precisely.
Yeah. Us too.
Angelo Calderon. I live in North Center. I'm running with for the Anti-Cruelty Society. Been training with Madison, and not biggest concern, but biggest question is specific to this marathon. For like family members coming in town, like what's good spots to tell them to spectate at? If they want to be by the start, is that even realistic? If they want to be by the end, is that even possible with the crowd? Where's good spots you need to see a friendly face?
That's a good question, and that applies to everyone. So we'll make sure we touch on that. Thank you.
My name is Tiffany. This is my first marathon. I'm training with you.
Oh, thank you.
I live in Brighton Park. That's near the Cook County Jail. And what are the questions over there? So I'm battling a hip labral tear right now. So just exercises for that, strengthening exercises.
You're in therapy or something.
Yeah, I see a chiropractor doing therapy, see a massage therapist, sports medicine doctor, everything on the list. Yeah, so good exercises for that to strengthen the glutes and hips.
Hi everyone, I'm Eve, running my first marathon a week after the Chicago. I'm running Grand Rapids Marathon from the south side of Chicago. And a concern that I've been having is on my longer runs, my calves continually start cramping. So techniques or what I should be doing so that I don't cramp up while I'm running.
Hi, I'm Alison. I'm running for Eric's Lighthouse. Been training with Mark. My first question was about hitting the wall, which apparently doesn't exist. So I guess it is when you get to that painful kind of bit, how do you keep going? I mean, what do you do with your mind to make sure that everything else is fine?
Yeah, correct. So, very good, Allison. That's like really one of the toughest questions, and one of the toughest answers too. And after 62 marathons, I still ask myself that question. So at this point, the window is closed, and Coach Mark has an expression.
Cake is in the oven.
Louder, David.
Cake is in the oven.
The cake is in the oven. What in the world does that mean? It means like if you miss that 15 miler or that 16 miler or that 10 miler or that interval workout or whatever, guess what? It's too late. The window is closed, the oven door is closed, the cake is in the oven. Whatever's in that cake or in that mixture, that's what you're playing with right now. So one of the things you should take away tonight is 5, or maybe as many if we're really good, 10 things that I could do between right now when I walk out that door until I cross the starting line to make my race safe, successful, and fun. SSF. Safe, successful, and fun. So it's not this is not like the final exam at college. Oh, I could cram for it. I could finish that term paper. No, the window is closed. The cake is in the oven, or the other translation is less is more. Meaning the less you do, the better. So there's 45,000 people or so on the starting line, or not on the starting line, but that's going to compete in the race on October 7th. Every one of them, some of them don't know because they're not here tonight. Most of them don't know. But all of them are on a teeter-totter when it comes to training. Did I train too much and too much? Am I slightly injured or very injured? And am I banged up? And am I mentally and physically fatigued? Do you want to go to the starting line in that condition? Or would you be rather a little bit undertrained, fresh, and knowing, well, I should have done more miles, but I didn't. I've run 62 marathons, and sometimes I'm on the starting line, and I feel terribly tired, and I didn't even start the race. So that is dreadful. So right now, less is more. That make sense, David?
Absolutely.
Yeah, let's talk about the
Doesn't
muscle.
mean don't stop running.
Yeah.
But just don't go nuts and do other stuff. Do core work, do flexibility work, get in a few yoga classes, get in the pool, change it up a little bit. But yeah, don't pile a bunch of miles on because you'll be in a bad spot.
The window is closed. You've got to let the cake rest. So.
I'm Raylan. I'm a new physical therapist here and just stopped in to see what's going on at age 9
Raylan's the new manager here, so.
Yeah, yeah. So we traded David for her, so we look forward to working with you in the future. But you've been a physical therapist for how many years?
About 5 years now.
5 years.
And I am a hip preservation program person. If anything, let me know.
That's good.
Robert, this will be my second marathon, and I'm just all excited about it.
Yeah, well, that's good. So, those of you who are running your first marathon, very simply, I'm so jealous. There's nothing like your first marathon, and there's nothing better than that. That's a day you're going to remember for the rest of your life. And I always say, remember, all you have to do is cross the finish line, and you set a personal best if it's your first one. And the slower you do it, the more you can take in of the course, and the easier it will be to set your personal best next year when you return. So if you run real fast and set a world's record, it's going to be very, very hard to set 2 world's records in a row. Okay? So, but that's the other point. Forget about 44,999 other runners. They don't know what they're doing. They didn't come to tonight's seminar. You're supposed to laugh. That was half serious. Thank you, Robert. That was half serious and half joke. No, really, don't worry about anyone else. So, who asked about pace groups? Yeah, so that's a real tough one. Pace groups could be good and not so good. So, pace groups are supposed to run every mile at the same time. I think that's very unrealistic, especially when you have 45,000 people on the starting line. So what's going to happen on October 7th when the gun goes off? What are you going to do when the gun goes off? Nothing. You're going to stand there for 5 or 10 minutes to let the people in front of you go.
At best.
At best. How long? How much longer, David?
Probably up to an hour.
Well, no.
I mean, not for you, but like the slowest group would be like 45, 50 minutes.
Yeah. Well, they changed it to 3 waves. So say we're going to do a 10-minute mile, okay? And your first mile, and do not zigzag. I don't like being in the center of the street. I like being on the right-hand curb, and if it's slow, that's fine. You want your body and your fluids and your muscles to warm up. And say you walk and jog a 13-minute first mile, and your pace that you're going for is 10 minutes. Your second mile better not be 7 minutes to say, oh, I got to the 3-mile mark and now I reached my average. That's a disaster. So what you want to do is say, hey, I ran a 13-minute mile. My next mile is going to be 12:50 or 12:30, and my next mile is going to be 12:10, then 12 minutes. You got 25 miles to get back to pace. So let's look at the outline. Where do we say 5, at least number 12, 5 marathon goals. I recommend everybody to start their mental training, and their mental training starts this way. You take out your 4th grade spiral notebook. Forget about all your electronics, Tiffany. And then you take out an ink pen like this guy has, like Angelo does, and you write down, my 5 goals for my first marathon in Chicago on October 7th are this. So when I was young and really fast and running 2:30 marathons, I had a saying that no one passes me after the 13-mile mark. And then I got a little older and a little slower, and then I said, no one passes me after the 15-mile mark. Then I said, the 20-mile mark, no one passes me. So you have to adjust your goals. But I think a great goal would be getting, one of your 5 or 10 goals is getting to the 20-mile mark, and I can't say feeling great, but I could say feeling good, or after the 20-mile mark, I will pass more people than pass me. Reasonable goal? Well, that means you don't run so fast the first 20. And when you get to the 20-mile mark and you have a 10K to go, you should still have a third of a tank of energy left. David, how did it feel at your 20-mile mark?
Not good.
Not good?
I started struggling about 18, but it was hot that day. The weather matters a lot. This was 2015, the last one I did. So, I mean, you have to play games with yourself. You have to try to latch on to someone who looks like they're in decent shape.
What about like the whole mantra thing?
We've been talking about the whole mental thing. What?
Mantra.
Mantra. Okay, mantra,
Like-
mental, it's the same thing,
Like
right?
chant something or
Yeah,
repeat
like
something.
a chant.
I don't know. If it helps you. I like to just, pick out things about people that I either like or dislike and say, I don't know, just like,
He's got ugly ankles. I'm gonna run
yeah,
over
right,
him.
like I have to pass this guy, right? Anything, it could be, I don't know,
smells bad.
whatever you can make it. But yeah, at some point you have to say, I'm gonna run this far, I'm gonna run to the, the light post, and then I'll be able to walk for, 30 steps, and then repeat that and try to, little ways to keep yourself going, because, very few of us will run the whole thing. So.
Yeah,
keep
where
yourself
is it on the sheet? I don't have my glasses. So, about walking and starting.
Mm.
Oh,
Is it on there?
I read.
18.
We're gonna find, 18, thank you. So, Allison, we'll talk about a couple things. So, and we talked about this on Saturday morning. So, not all of us is gonna run all 26.2 miles. We're probably gonna walk some portion of it. And walking is great. Walking is like drinking. I'm gonna handle both of them, or hydration. So, in one scoop. When do you should never be thirsty. So you should never be thirsty. You should bring to the starting line a plastic bottle of water. You could wear a fuel belt. You can't wear a camelback. That's against security
What about
rules.
handhelds?
Handhelds is fine. Good. And you should use your BYOB, so you do not have to stop for water at the first, second, third, and maybe even fourth water stop, because those are the most congested. And what you should do is, when you get to those water stops, move from running on the curb to right dead center down the lane, and let everyone go past you, and it's like the parting of the Red Sea. Just go right down the center. Thank you, Tiffany. One person. My wife says, don't tell any jokes. So anyways, but seriously, you want to go right past the middle, right past the center of the Red Sea. I mean, down the center of the street, and let all the chaos happen. Then maybe at the fourth or fifth or sixth water stop, then you fill your water bottle. And then you're going to save so much time. But you do never want to be thirsty. You should bring your fuel belt, or your handheld one, or just one of these to the starting line.
Can you run with that in your hand?
Definitely.
Sure.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to, but.
For, not for 26 miles,
Yeah,
but for 6 miles you could do it.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And so the thing is, I get the question, and nobody asked directly, but you asked indirectly. How much water should I drink? So, one, you should drink enough water so you never feel thirsty. If you feel thirsty, it's too late. It's like you went bankrupt and you're asking for a loan. You don't get a loan when you're bankrupt. It's too late. So you have to keep drinking. How much should you drink? Ideally, this is how much you should have, but it's impossible to achieve. If you've ever been in a medical situation and you had an IV in your hand, in your arm, and you're getting a drip, 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 that's how much water you want to have. Small amounts frequently. Think about when you came back from vacation and you didn't water your plant, and your friend didn't water your plant, and you have a potted plant that's dead hard dirt. and you pour water in it, what happens? 95% of it goes. So that's the same thing. Do you think your stomach could handle water? No, small amounts frequently. Here's a secret that you've never heard before. When you go, I'm not going to drink it. When you go to drink your water at the water stop or you brought your own, the first thing you put in your mouth, you think it's mouthwash, not water. Meaning you gargle with it for 10 to 20 seconds. Why? Somebody can say why? Right?
So your mouth is
So what it does is you have all these, David, you have all these nerves in your mouth and on your tongue and in your throat. They send messages down to your digestive system that something's coming. If you take it and just chug it, of course you're going to get a cramp. So you want to gargle with it for 10 to 20 minutes. Seconds. I'm just seeing if you're listening. 10 to 20 seconds, you gargle with it, and then you swallow it. Okay? So that's the secret with the water stop. The water stops are like 3 blocks long. They're frequent. If you take Gatorade, you're going to pretend it's wine and just sip a little bit and then have water. And I sip it and it's always too strong. I hold it and then I take the water and I dilute it. So, like that. If you haven't been practicing with Gatorade, October 7th isn't the first day to do it. So, how's that for drinking? Oh, and stopping. There's no reason, it's fine to walk. And like we talked about, Allison, about you could walk, but under 2 circumstances. If you walk because you are depleted, it's like being thirsty. It's too late. You have to start your walking regimen before you have to walk. So that may mean, for somebody, you're going to jog or run 5 minutes, and then you're going to walk for 1 minute. It may mean, for somebody else, every mile you're going to walk 1 minute. So everybody's going to have a different ratio on what you're going to do. But what you don't want to do is run for 10K or 10 miles or a half mile or a half marathon or 15 miles and then have to walk 5 miles. That's a disaster, mentally and physically. So you want to walk before you have to walk. And when you walk, you pick when you're going to start walking and when you're going to return to running. Go ahead.
So how do you determine, because I use an app during my training that tells me like when 5 minutes happens, how do you tell when you don't have your headphones in, when like 5 minutes is and then when like a minute passes so you can start walking?
Well, you could have go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, watch. If you don't have one of those, count it out.
Yeah. Yeah. And even if it gets to a point where you have to adjust and say, I'm just going to jog 30 seconds and walk 2 minutes, and then jog 30 seconds and walk 2 minutes, that's fine. But if you start walking, if anyone starts walking and you don't have your restart point or time determined before you start walking, you're going to be walking to Indiana. You know, you'll never restart. You have to have the restart. And even if the restart is only 30 seconds of jogging, that's fine. But you have to have a restart point.
You can use those.
Yeah.
Sorry, just to stay on that point for a second. You can use those, water stations, hydration stations as you're walking a bit. Logistically, once you're out there, how much should you be drinking? You asked that question, right?
Mine was more towards like supplements, like gels.
Oh,
or
the gels. Okay.
or something.
Well, just on the hydration, I think the warmer it is, the more you need to take in. So.
And do not wait till you're thirsty. It's too late. That's why you're bringing water with you.
I think if you're pre-hydrated, like Mark said, you can skip the few. I
And
like to kind of do water after the first few, water, Gatorade, skip, water, Gatorade, skip. Everyone kind of has their own thing. you just have to consistently take some in.
Yeah. And a good walking part is after the 5th water stop, as David was mentioning, that you walk through a water stop. And when you do walk, regardless where you walk, the first thing you do, you have your restart point. Then you take 2 to 3 deep breaths when you start walking to get oxygen more back. It's easier to breathe when you're walking than when you're running. So you want to fill your body and your brain with more oxygen. You walk and drink. That's a good time to drink. And then before you restart, 2 to 3 more deep yoga breaths. And when you start, it's not like a shot out of the cannon. You start very slowly again, even though you feel refreshed. You want to start slowly again so you could get in, mesh your gears. Madison, you had a question.
Yeah. So how often are there like the clocks where you can see how long you've been running? Like the big, you know what I'm talking about, the big digital clock?
I believe they're at every mile mark.
Every mile, okay.
Yeah. But that, what you see on that clock will be meaningless
Yeah.
to you, because that clock started when the first woman and the first man started. So you will start your watch not when the gun goes off for your wave, but when you cross the starting line.
Okay.
And if you do not have, if you have a watch, that's fine. If you have a GPS, after you run a block and a half, you're under Columbus Drive for 2.5 blocks, your GPS just went out because it has all this concrete on you in front of you. So the GPS doesn't register while you're under Columbus Drive. So that's really going to throw you for a loop. So what I look at is my last mile, or my first mile of the race, was 13 minutes and 30 seconds. It's above my average. And I'll say it again. All I want to do is do 10 to 20 seconds faster for my second mile. I don't worry about my average. What was my second mile? 13:10. Okay? I want to do a 13-minute mile or a 13:50 mile for my next mile, and just slowly bring it down as my body warms up and the race course opens up a little bit.
But also just look at the clock when you cross the starting line, and then you can add however many minutes it says. Some
Yeah.
math to do, but it might, just having
Keep
little
me
mental
occupied.
tasks
Yeah.
to do like that is kind of nice sometimes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Good.
What mile does it start opening up?
Around 26.1.
Got
It doesn't open up. I mean, it opens up, but it doesn't open up, a lot depends how fast you're going. But don't worry, I always like running on the runner's right, and that helps your spectators know where you're going to be. Because even if you tell them, I'm going to be on the northeast corner of LaSalle and Jackson, but if you're on the right lane, right curb, and not the left lane, they're not going to find you.
Yeah.
Coach Mark is around the 10-mile mark.
Sedgwick.
Yeah. So with the biggest bullhorn, my wife says, "Why do you need that bullhorn? It's like putting gasoline on a fire. You're loud enough without it." So, but I have the world's biggest bullhorn, and so everyone's invited this Saturday. As a lot of you know, we're running from Oz Park at 7 a.m. You're invited to join us. And we run 30 to 90 minutes, and we have free massages and potluck breakfast afterwards. And we are going to run 9.5. We are going to run from the 9.5 mile mark to the 10-mile mark. And I will show you precisely where I'm standing on Sedgwick on the left side of the street. And if you have your name or your team name or whatever, it will say, "Coach Mark says you're at the 10-mile mark. Start your kick now. 16.2 miles to go." Or I'll say something encouraging. So, anyways,
The north side's pretty congested typically. And once you get out a little further in the West Loop and then down kind of Bridgeport area, there's some
No one.
open spots for spectating, but also just more space to run. You're
Yeah.
spread out by that point. But
Yeah.
you might need some encouragement about that time, like mile, 18 to 20.
Yeah.
That's where I really needed it, and it's kind of a little bit of a dead zone on the route.
Let all the people pass you for the first 10, 15, and 20 miles. They'll come back to you after 20. Let 'em go. When I was in my prime and I was running against my nemesis, and maybe I mentioned his name, he went running by me at 1.5 miles, and we acknowledged each other. It wasn't him. And he said, "Good morning, Mark." I said, "Good morning, David," not this David, and he took off. I said, "You know what? I gotta beat him. By all means, I gotta beat him. But I'm not gonna beat him at 2 miles. It's 26.2, let him go." But I knew what he was wearing. Then, I was in my own pace. 25.7. Son of a bee! There he is! And then what did I do? I took out my imaginary fishing rod and I went zoop! And I caught him in the butt and I started reeling him in. And then my Finnish running partner, Jukka Kallio, he's at 25.9. Very quiet, sedate guy who runs 2:19 marathons. He goes, "Catch him, son of a..." He goes, so I go running by him at 26.1 and I beat my nemesis.
Wow.
And later he comes up to me, he goes, "I was so mad that you passed me. I passed 10 people in trying to catch you." And he did it. Welcome to part 2. Coach Mark's final tips with David and Coach Mark at Athletico Physical Therapy, Lincoln Park East. And the next question is from Tiffany.
Hip.
Hip. Dave.
It's going to hurt if it is truly torn and you are in fact running. But yeah, work your glutes, bridges, side steps with a band, backwards walks with the band.
Okay.
What have you been doing for cross training?
A lot of core work, a lot of fire
Specific.
hydrants,
Okay.
hip extensions, squats, and really working the glutes. Because I think when I went to my sports medicine doctor, they had me lie down. I went up. They tried to push it down. So quads are strong, but then I went sideways, and they just like
It's okay.
boom down. So it's my glutes.
So continue with that.
Yeah.
If you've been doing any yoga or Pilates,
Yeah,
if you haven't,
a lot of stretches, yoga
Okay.
stretches, YouTube, water aerobics. Yeah.
okay. Yeah, all good. Just continue.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'll ask Tiffany's next question. All of that, when is her last day to do that?
2 days before, day before.
Okay, so maybe day before.
So not Saturday, and probably not Friday.
Yeah.
Thursday is the last
Oh,
day to
latest.
do it, yeah. Because again, you're getting to the point, the cake is in the oven,
Okay.
less is more.
But continue to ice.
Yeah. I mean, nothing's going to fix the labrum, obviously, but the stronger your glute med and glute max are,
Yeah.
and your low abs, don't neglect those.
Yeah. Alright.
But yeah, still be fresh on the finish line or on the starting
Starting
line.
line.
Yeah, you don't want to
Overtrain.
overtrain exactly.
Yeah, there's no benefit. Even if you don't run another step between now and October 7th, that's better than doing too much. The cake is in the oven, the window is closed, less is more. So what do? So a taper, you run less, but maybe you still run 5 days a week for the nerves, and instead of running 6 or 7 or 8 or 10 miles, you're running 2 to 4 miles. So at least you get to warm up your body, relax your mind, and after running 4 miles, you go in and you really are warmed up and you stretch. So instead of running for an extra 30 minutes, you're gonna stretch for another 20 minutes. Make sense there?
Absolutely.
Yeah. On that. All right, somebody pick a number. I'm not gonna go through all 26.2, but what don't you understand?
24, yeah.
Oh, 24, oh, wow, okay. You could read 24 nice and loud.
MDM, catch it, use it wisely, and enjoy it, including your charity business.
Okay, MDM is an acronym for Coach Mark's Marathon Day Magic. This is like no other day. You've been training for months, maybe for years, but Marathon Day Magic, you tapered. There's 1.1 million people ready to cheer you on. If you start slowly and you do things to prepare between now and then, like going to bed 20 minutes earlier a night to get extra rest, Marathon Day Magic will carry you. But if you go like a bat out of hell at the beginning and you're pooped before you get to the halfway mark, the magic just turned into black magic and you're down the drain. Okay? So you have to use it to your advantage. What else does it say? So that's why, catch it, use it wisely. How many are charity runners? Raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, almost all of you. So one thing somebody did, they printed business cards. I'm running for the Canines, or I'm running for Erica's Lighthouse. Thank you for your support. And then they put in their fundraising link, and they put 10 of them in a convenient location in their belt or in their pocket. And when they were walking and somebody gave them a hug or a high five, they said thank you, and they passed out a solicitation. Remember, my background is MBA in marketing from DePaul, so I run a little bit too. But anyways, they had their own business card, well, not business cards, but charity business cards, and they had really no idea how to track it. But if you go in after the marathon for the next week and you see people are donating who you have no idea who their name is, it worked. So that's one, and if you think you're psyched, the spectators who you don't even know are also, if you play on emotions, and some people put the webpage of their charity, so they say, well, what is this Erica's Lighthouse, or I don't have dogs, what is PAWS, or Anti-Cruelty Society, but that's one way. And on one side of the card they say, thanks for your help, can you help, ... So.
But along with that, just, I mean, do take in the energy of the crowd, because people get really creative with how they cheer, and people be running in crazy things. Like, I saw a guy in a three-piece suit, or you'll see a guy in a banana suit or something. So just enjoy it. It's a fun day, and Chicago really does come out for it. I mean, he said 1.2 million. So draw energy from the crowd if you can, and people watch. It's pretty good.
There will be, right there, there will be more people watching you on Marathon Day live than there will be watching the Cubs game. Think about it. So on that. Pick another number. Who's ready? Yeah, I could talk about this for like 3 days. So go.
That's my question about cramping up while running. Like, what do you do to prevent?
When does it set in?
So for this 20-mile one, this past Saturday, it set in around mile 15, 16.
Okay, both sides?
Oh yeah.
Equal? Okay. Does it take that many miles typically, or do you feel?
Yeah,
that
usually around like 14, 15 miles I start to set.
Okay. Well, make sure you're hydrating. That's the first thing. Muscles cramp if they're dehydrated. Second thing to look at is potassium intake. If your sodium potassium levels get off, that can cause cramping. So a banana before a run isn't a bad thing. If neither of those help at all, then stretch as well. Like even mid-run, stretch your calves a bit. But it's probably something coming from your spine if none of that stuff works. So do your core strengthening.
What's your opinion on compression sleeves, both for calves and knees? I had a hamstring strain earlier, and I've been wearing these center alignments, and I that way like little knee sleeves, compression sleeves. I prefer not to race in this, but if it's gonna keep things from blowing up.
I mean, I think if you prefer not to, don't do it. I personally like the compression socks.
Okay.
I think it just
Helps
helps with
circulation.
circulation a little bit.
Yeah,
I don't really like the sleeves there. I think that kind of cuts you off a little bit. I like the continuous foot to calf sock.
Yeah, they have a really nice cap sleeve.
Yeah. But yeah, that's another option to try.
For exercise tools, what is that thing that you use to roll out? It has like bars on both. It was there on Saturday for a 20-miler. What is that called?
Oh, the white thing
That it has like the rollers on both sides and you put it.
I don't know, like one of these things. Kind of like this thing. Ish, but flat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's two-sided.
Yeah. What is it? What is that called?
There's one, it's just a variation of roll stick.
Yeah, massaging, rolling stick. Get a foam roller. It's
Yeah.
better than anything.
So, after you finish, you keep walking, you smile. Oh, let's practice. Okay, when you're coming down the last 0.2 of a mile down Columbus Drive, it's actually on a slight downhill, but you don't see it because there's thousands of runners in front of you. So everybody stand up. So now remember, marathon photo is going to take your picture at the finish line. And how many people have some kind of timing device on their wrists or will have a timing device on marathon day? So what you don't want to do is cross this finish line like this. Because they're going to take a picture of this. That's not my best side. So like this. So what you want to do, let's practice, make sure you have plenty of elbow room. When you cross, don't look at your watch. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Yeah! Oh, we could do better than that. 1, 2, 3. Yeah! Then take 2 steps and hit the time. Okay? So if I go online and I see any of you doing this, and you paid $60 to get all your, did we talk about that? Oh no, that's the other. Marathon Photo has a special. You save $20. They send you by, what do you call it, by link, every photo you may sit. They send you every photo they took of you on the course. It's usually $80, but it's $60, and you get every one. You print them yourself. Like one photo is $15 or $20 if you have them printed. So, but don't go like this during the finish line. That's no good. The best way to recuperate is, we'll see you Saturday, I hope, both of you, hopefully. And then the best way to recuperate is on Thursday, October 11th, come to Coach Mark's Marathon Victory Celebration, number 26.2. So your friends, your donors, your family, bring your smile and wear your medal on that. So that's a fun event. And if any of you are interested, you could email me. Coach Mark's winter training starts December 1st. And I guarantee no mosquitoes. So, you know, marathon day is your day, especially if it's your first one or your 21st one. This is your day. You've been training for it. So one of the best things you could do between now and then is to take a pen to your 4th grade spiral notebook, and every night before you go to bed and you're nervous, write for 2 to 5 minutes on how you feel. And just say, oh, I had a dreadful day at work, or I had a good day at work. I could easily go to sleep. And then you read that. And of course, if you were training with me, you know you're supposed to have a logbook that started back on January 2nd. And you say, wow, I got 10 months. I went from hurting after 1 mile to not hurting after 21 miles. So it's still not too late to do your logbook.
I mean, what can I do now after?
What have you been doing?
Been running on my own. I have a treadmill where I live.
How many miles a week have you been doing?
It's really haphazard. I guess that's part of the problem. Like some good weeks I've run north of 20 per week, but bad week literally like 5.
Okay. I mean, I'd stay in that range. I wouldn't go towards your upper limit. I'd stay in that, 5 or 10 range over the next few weeks. Cross training. What have you been doing for that? Just stretching. Any core work?
For work, yeah, like for the gym I have available, it's like weights. Literally for tennis like twice.
Okay. I mean, I think that's good. Honestly, you want to do some other stuff than just run. Well, like Coach Mark just said, you can't try to run
Less is
40
more.
miles a week for the next 2 weeks. So I keep it on the lower end of what you've been doing, but definitely still run and continue with the core work and cross training. Yeah.
Less is more at this point.
What's gonna shave off 20 minutes? What food is that? Number 7.
Oh, are we on number 7, diet?
Is that, are you gonna tell, I hope that.
Yeah,
is
read that nice and loud.
Is that a legal substance?
Number 7.
Number 7, diet, the secret food that will make you run a personal best by 20 minutes.
Anybody want to know that answer?
Peanut butter.
Oh, go ahead, Madison.
No, I said I want to know.
Oh, you do want to know? I thought you knew the answer.
No, you said do you want to know?
Yeah, do you want to know? Yeah, you want to know.
The
Good.
executive seminar.
Oh, is that right? The executive summary, yeah. We're
Yeah.
excited for that.
Yeah. What was the executive?
That's
Oh,
where that information
That's
comes out.
more information. So you're going to go to the expo, and now all this time that you're not running, you're going to spend it online and things like that. And there are going to be all these ideas, last minute tips and whatever, how to fine tune and whatever. And they're going to be selling all this smoke at the expo. And they're going to have things, nutrition supplements and everything. So it's not a trick question, but it's a true question. The answer is absolutely nothing.
Nothing?
There's nothing. There is no food that's going to make you run a PR by 20 minutes. I put it in there purposely to make you think the diet that you've been using the last 4 to 5 to 6 to 8 months, that's what you stick with. If you think there's some mythical food that's going to make me run faster, feel stronger, break through the wall, it doesn't exist.
Although the goo rock things.
Only if you've been practicing with it for months. If the first time you use it is in Chinatown at 19.9 miles, that's not a good idea. Yeah.
Okay.
So, but see, that's in there to make sure you're reading all 26.2 because there is no food that's going to make you run faster. One of the best things you could do has nothing to do with your race physically. The race is on NBC Channel 5. And nobody has VCRs anymore, that's old technology. But if you can Devo it or TiVo it or whatever, it's wonderful to record the marathon. I have twins, so I know all about this. If you have any way to set and record 7 to 11:30 on Channel 5 on marathon morning, that's a great thing to watch the day after or the week after with your feet up on the wall. And, it's free, just take it. So that's a great one to do. So.
What was your question? Can we get to that?
Kind of. My training plan went up to 20. Am I going to be okay?
Yeah, I didn't run 20 when I ran my marathon. I think, total number of miles are more important than getting to that specific mile, in my opinion. Some people need that mentally. I think it's more about that than actually doing, physically 20 miles. The last several miles are going to be difficult regardless, whether you run 20 or 16 or 25. So be fresh. I think it's the theme from tonight. You know, just know that you put in the work.
Getting to bed every night 10 to 20 minutes earlier than usual will help more than ever. And we are going to go back to 7 indirectly on diet. And so we could have a 10-week seminar on diet. That's what registered nutritionists are there for. It's a little too late for that. So I won't say what to eat the day before the marathon, although I did say it, right? It's what you've been eating the day before all your previous Saturday or Sunday long runs. The emphasis on your meals on Saturday, the day before the race, is the time. If you're waking up at 4 in the morning and eating your dinner at 8 p.m. the night before, and then trying to go to bed at 9:09 p.m., I don't think that works. So I recommend that you eat your pre-marathon meal probably at 3 or no later than 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And what do you do when you finish your meal? Unless it's pouring rain outside, thank you, Jared. Unless it's pouring rain outside, you want to go for a 5-minute walk around the block. What does that do? Fresh air in the head. It helps with the digestive system. If you eat your big bowl of spaghetti and sit on the couch, nothing is moving. You'll sleep much better. So 3 to 4 o'clock at the latest, you have your pre-marathon meal. Because don't forget, you're going to be waking up like at 4 in the morning to get ready for. And when you wake up and you're not running to 8 or 8:30 in the morning, you better have a pretty substantial breakfast. Otherwise, you're going to go to the starting line totally depleted. So.
What time do they close down?
What time does the race close?
Yeah.
What do they give you, 6.5 hours?
I believe it's 6.5 hours after the last person crosses the finish line.
Starting line.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard that.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, you won't be last.
Yeah.
No matter how slow you run, you won't be
Like a Charles.
Is there a
Allison,
is
go
there
ahead.
a
Nice
best
and loud.
time to
What?
go and collect your dip?
Not,
You could do the Friday.
Not Saturday.
Not Saturday. If you can do it Friday, do it
Friday. And even if you go there at 7:59 p.m., get it done Friday, you could sleep late on Saturday. You don't want to, how many people have a Fitbit or a watch or something that records your steps?
Yeah.
Here's an interesting, and you use it regularly, you know how many steps you run or walk or run or both. Hit your Fitbit when you open the door of McCormick Place. First of all, I think the expo is in the east side. So you're entering at Martin Luther King Drive, and you have to walk through McCormick Place, through the connection, across Lakeshore Drive to the east side of Lakeshore Drive. I bet you're going to walk over a quarter mile or almost 3/4 of a mile, and you haven't even entered the expo yet. ×2, that's 1.5 miles. You'll easily put 1 to 2 miles on in the expo. So the day before, inside in air conditioning and controlled air, do you want to be walking 5 miles? I don't think so. Go Friday.
yeah, Saturday's just a zoo. Go fight people. Just be
Yeah.
on your feet too much.
Thanks, Jim. We see you Saturday?
Yeah, see you.
Good. Potluck, remember.
Okay,
So.
thank you.
All right. Oh, how about a final question or
Well,
two?
going back to the dinner situation the night before, if we're eating around 4, what do we do if we get hungry around like 8?
Milk and cookies.
Yeah?
That's what I eat. But I may not have the sweet cookies. I may have honey grapes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Don't have to ask me.
David?
I don't know, 4 is too early for me to eat dinner. But I think the point is, don't eat a huge dinner at 9 o'clock.
Sure.
You know, so have a relatively early dinner.
Follow
You can
whatever
eat a
you
little snack, whatever. I mean, snack. Like,
whatever you eat, whenever you eat it, you need to go for a walk afterwards.
Yeah, sure.
And the biggest thing you could do between now and then, relax. It doesn't matter if you don't win the race. If you were someone from a different part of the world and your whole family and tribe was depending on you to win the race. No, seriously. That's a whole lot of pressure. There's people who enter the race, if they don't win the race or finish in second place, their family's going to starve. It's really true.
We'll see what Galen Rupp has to say about that.
Yeah. So, but you don't have to worry about that. Just go and enjoy it. The slower you run, the easier it is to set your personal best next year for 2 years in a row. So Saturday, 7 a.m., we're at Oz Park. You're all welcome to join us. We're going to have physical therapists from Athletico there stretching you as a group and individually, and we have a potluck breakfast.
Wait, 7 a.m.? 7 in the morning?
7 a.m. this Saturday.
We lie in this weekend.
What's that?
We get a lie in this weekend.
Yeah, you get to sleep in. We're used to 6 a.m. So, but we really appreciate that you're coming out to Athletico Physical Therapy. If you have any significant aches and pains, David in West Loop now, and
Raylan.
Lynn is here, and you're still taking injury screenings.
Yeah,
for
I've
people.
changed the name. I think it's a free
assessment.
But
If it's something bothering you, don't.
they'll know what you mean if you call it.
Yeah, don't ignore it. Just get it checked out.
Yeah.
Whether you can fix it or not before the race, it's maybe a little bit unlikely, but you'll at least know more about it and have a few strategies to manage through the race.
So we're gonna look for you this Saturday at Oz Park. A week from Saturday, we are at Coach Mark's Lounge, and we're running the last mile of the course. And then Coach Mark's at the 10-mile mark with that bullhorn. Although my wife says she's gonna take the batteries out of it. I got extra batteries.
And be on the east side of Sedgwick.
Yeah.
When you're running down Sedgwick.
Yeah. You will hear me. And then on October 11th, we have our victory celebration. So I wish you, David and I and everybody at Athletico wishes you success, safety, and enjoy it. This isn't your job. This is something you're supposed to enjoy.
You're paying for it.
And I guarantee you, if you're a first-time marathoner, no one or very few people are going to ask, what was your time? They're going to ask things like, where's your medal? And if you're not wearing it to work on Tuesday, because everybody calls in sick on Monday, you don't go to work on Friday to prepare, and you don't go to work on Monday. You wear your medal and to work on Tuesday, and you say, and if you're with a charity, make sure you have your cards. Oh, thank you for your support. Oh, you didn't support me? Come on!
Hey, Mark, I always thought it was cool to show up for work on Monday with a slight limp. You got tons of sympathy.
Anyways, thank you for coming tonight, and we hope we educated you, encouraged you, and entertained you. So, happy running.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.